Let's go through the fifth and final fear. Actually, I had a few other messages come through, but this is the summary of the top 5 fears that I have heard people convey about diving deeper into processing their emotions on the release course. So this is that I won't be able to go deeper with the process. I've done some DIY releasing and really want to go deeper. So the process is what I call the release process. This is something that has evolved over many years working with clients and finding what really helps shift and transmute pain, help people process their emotions and access the deeper messages. So that's called the release process. This is what this person is referring to. And it consists of 4 parts. The first part is a scream. The last 3 parts is a verbal dialogue. And it has very particular prompts for you to answer and in a way to communicate. And there's lots of variations. This is not just releasing on people. This is releasing on inanimate objects, communities, things. My favorite ones that have been recently coming up is people releasing on body parts that aren't functioning very well or to their optimum. So I used to, and why this person has said I've done a lot of DIY releasing is because I used to do podcast interviews where people would ask me, what is the release process? I used to do masterclasses where I would tell people what the release process was. Sorry, you can hear my little sausage dog. She's very low to the ground and her collar's dragging on the floor. So I used to share very openly what this release process was, particularly the verbal dialogue and the prompts, which is why people have sometimes gone away from my masterclasses going, oh, I'm going to try that. I'm going to give it a go and see where I get to, and then maybe I'll jump on a course with you. And I've stopped sharing because I saw people, and this is a conversation that I was having with a practitioner who knows the process that I teach. But we're kind of having a little bit of a joke. And she said, oh yeah, gotcha. People butchering the process. And I'm like, yes, that is the best way to put it. Because when we've got stuff that is hard to deal with, it's often hard to go into it. So our mind, our body will find creative ways to bypass the hard stuff and stay in a relative place of comfort. And my work is all about let's get comfortable with discomfort. There are phases of discomfort that you work through. And really the release process is to help you work through the mess, the stuff that we wish we could just sweep under the carpet, but we well and truly know that we can't do that. It finds ways of popping up into our life in different shapes, ways, or forms, unless we actually learn the lessons and process. It is not about forgetting, it is about processing the emotions that get stored in your body that present physically, mentally, behaviorally, energetically, spiritually, and just infiltrate your life. So yeah, unfortunately, the reason why I stopped sharing it is because people were not diving deep into the process. And I've been sharing with people that I work with lately that I see this more and more as a sacred process because so much is available when you get it right. And it is very structured, but with masculine structure allows feminine flow. And for me, there's different ways of, the structure's always the same, but the way I communicate it to people will depend on where they're at on their journey. So what I get a lot of people to do now, if I'm working with them, is, unless I'm doing something live with them, is that I'll get them to dictate their release. They have a little cheat sheet, and I provide a cheat sheet that's been quite refined over the years of teaching this process. You get that on the release course, but I get them to print it out and I get them to follow the prompts. Like, it is all there. Once people get the process, they realize it really is all on the cheat sheet that I provide. But I get them to follow the prompts, and yes, they'll feel a little bit like they're in their head or they haven't quite got it or they shouldn't be looking at the cheat sheet. But if we want to get good at anything, we have to practice it, and learning the process, using a cheat sheet and repeating this process over and over again with different events that you want to process, different people that you want to process on, you will get better and you find the flow. So I've sort of lost my train of thought. Let me try and get it back. So I was talking about the cheat sheet. So I get people to use the cheat sheet so that they can have a structure. And I get them to dictate their releases into notes so that it transcribes their release for me. And I see what they say in the 1-way, the 2-way, and the younger self conversation. And then I'm able to give feedback. So I can see exactly where people are going wrong with the process. And hopefully they're open to receiving feedback as to how they can correct it. Because some people that do DIY releasing based on what I might share on a podcast or a masterclass, yes, it can be incredibly effective. And I've had really good feedback. But then some people just go, yeah, it didn't really work for me. And so then it kind of discredits the process when actually maybe they're not doing it exactly how they could be doing it, and they're bypassing stuff because it's hard. Also, so many people come onto the course and they want to go for the big stuff straight away. And I think I talked about this in the earlier fear about what if I don't have the capacity to be able to process? I say, don't go for the big and nasty stuff. Build trust in your nervous system that you do have the ability to process your emotions. Start with the small things, build trust, and then you can get bigger into the nasty, the horrible stuff. And it is true that some people will do better with it being facilitated. But why I teach this process is because once you learn how to do it, you can access a lot of messages yourself. And usually where you don't need someone to facilitate anymore is when you're no longer just trying to get out of pain. You're out of your pain and now you want to be able to access the path to your potential. Now that's really into energetics and maybe a little bit far-fetched for some people, but it is the place that a lot of people can get to when they put the work in. So this fear is that I won't be able to go deeper with the process. I've done some DIY releasing and really want to go deeper. The place to go deeper is with support, say in the release group, and there's lots of different levels of support after that, or it's one-to-one where I will actually facilitate a release for you. I tend not to facilitate easy, straightforward releases. I will do the curlier ones or the ones where it's maybe really on the brink for people and they will bypass when they do it themselves. So on the release course, I ask you to dictate into your notes, copy and paste it into our private Facebook group that's open for the duration of the course. And I read people's words. Yes, I read people's body language, but there is so much that I can glean from a dictation. And I can teach you then, as long as you're willing to receive the feedback, because it can be a little bit triggering, feeling like you're getting it all wrong. As long as you show up and go, right, I'll give this another go and see what's in it, then you can start to feel the depth of the process. Coming into a group also gives you accountability to go a little bit deeper. And something that I've been sharing with my groups as different offerings come about, like group courses or masterclasses or social media content, podcast or one-to-one, is that there is a different level of depth that is available for you to go into, depending on what you're comfortable with, because some people don't like groups. And yeah, depending on what the offering is, for example. So depending on what level you decide to start at, and I do believe that probably the release course is the best place to start for people who are ready to actually do things, then you'll go to a certain level of depth. And then once you feel comfortable with that, then you'll want to stretch yourself and maybe go a little bit deeper. But it's taking that time. It's a little bit like go slow to go fast. I don't want to say that I go slow because I can move fast. And this is, again, linking back to the previous conversation on different constitutions, the ones that get overwhelmed, the ones that want to dive right in, the ones that want all the details before they get started and have it perfect, is that because I understand all those different constitutions, I know the people that I can push to go faster rather than everyone having to go at the same pace on a course. So you're still very much treated as an individual. And the more you show up, the more you ask questions, the more you give things a go, the more you're going to progress and the more I'm going to respond to you. One of my things that I've learned about myself is that I like to respond. So that means I wait for a question and then I'll respond. So I want to go deeper, but I'm worried that I won't be able to. DIY processing is very different to when you have support and when you've got someone giving you feedback. And this process has become pretty refined. But the reason why I run the release course live once or twice a year is because really everyone's got the same question, but sometimes people need to ask their question because they think it's different. And that's fine. I totally understand that. But as you're in it doing the work, the coaching is very different to then just learning a concept and then saying, I'll do it later. This is not a course where you learn everything in 6 weeks and you do it later. You do it on the course where I will meet you with where you're at, you process, and it can be a very amazing space to be in. I have seen so much transformation. I know it's scary work. I just wish everyone was ready to do it. And again, as I say, I trust in the timing. When you're ready, you will get there. And this person who asked this question, who let me answer these live, I've known them. I've known them for a very, very long time. And it is just a real honor to have them come and sit this round of this live release. Okay, I will see you all soon.